Hello, this is a review of the Critter Ritter 5-pound container that we see here, and it comes with a nice handle because it's the 5-pounders, heavier than the usual one. We see that it's the 5-pound down here. Now basically remember, you're going to want to wear gloves when handling with it because it's going to give you instructions that say to use gloves, and then it has a whole bunch of first aid that if you touch it on your skin or on your clothes, basically says something like rinse your hand under water for 20 minutes if you get it on your skin. Now that might be a legalistic warning, I'm not sure, but basically when we take off the lid and look inside, basically it's a big can of pepper. So when you look at what the active ingredients are, is we see basically it's oil of black pepper, which probably means it's a heck of a lot of black pepper in here, and capsaicin, which is your hot pepper active chemical that makes cayenne pepper hot and so on. So basically you're looking that you're spreading around probably ground up different kinds of peppers, so it's just a big can of pepper. And by the way, this is a new can, so you'll notice that it is about this full. I haven't used any of it at all for this initial video here. So that this is how much that you get. So basically you start spreading this, and they have different instructions whether using indoors or outdoors, but basically you're supposed to shake it with this spreader here. So it has a few different notches. So you see here the notches, it lets you put it at different heights to do different amount of spreading. Now honestly, you're not going to want to open it up and just dump the whole can. I mean, that's going to dump way too much in an initial use. So I like the small opening there so that I can shake it a little bit more carefully. They say shake it directly from the canister if possible. Otherwise, if you're outdoors on a lawn, it gives you instructions on a spreader. However, when you are using it outdoors on a lawn, when you're following the instructions, it doesn't really help to tell me what it means in my spreader. So for example, I have a spreader, like you see here. But it actually doesn't correlate to the numbers that are up there. So that one would say 6.5. Well, what is a 6.5 on this? I have no idea. I'd probably have to consult a guide. So I didn't find that as helpful, whereas sometimes lawn care ingredients like fertilizers, they'll say on the Scott spreader 2000 use this, and on the Evergreen spreader do that, rather than just giving me a pure metric information here. So one thing to note is when you first get this, when you start to unscrew the lid, there's some pepper that just starts to fall out. So be careful where you open it at first. Don't just open it inside on the middle of your table or something like that, because the first time you unscrew it, it's going to come with a seal placed here, and that seal I have right here. So it comes like this in here, and you have to get in there with your hand and pull it out. It's really not that difficult, but I did have a lot of extra pepper laying around that started to fall out from around the crevices around the side as soon as I started unscrewing the lid. So I was glad that I started to undo it in my garage. So now as far as effectiveness goes, I think you'll want to read different reviews, and I think the summary that you're going to come up with is that it's going to be a middle ground of the best of what you could expect. If you think about what it's doing, it's not dangerous to pets, right? It is a deterrent because it's basically pepper. It's trying to work by taste and by smell. So, it just wants, dogs are going to go, around an area, or a cat might be trying to use part of your yard as a litter box, and you're just trying to deter them to say, hey, maybe there's a better spot. So it's not going to prevent an animal from coming near or coming there, but it's supposed to make it just less pleasant, so that if they taste something in the area or if they smell it, it just doesn't smell as good as hopefully someone else's. Now, unfortunately, it probably means just moving on to your neighbors or something like that. So think of it as like when you go to the beach. Maybe the beach smells in a particular area and has extra rocks around that's uncomfortable for you. Well, it doesn't prevent you from literally walking over there if you want to, but it just would be less pleasant than perhaps finding a better spot on the beach to go set up camp. So now I have it on the small gap opening, so I can just do a little bit of shaking. Now remember, don't turn this right upside down, but the area where cats might use a litter box, I'm just doing a little bit of shaking, and hopefully it will keep them from wanting to come as near as here, and maybe might find another spot for a litter box. The thing is, they say you can use it for up to every 30 days. Now this area doesn't get saturated with water every day. However, on my lawn, it gets watered every other day in the hot climate that I'm at right now in the summer, so it's probably going to get washed away a bit faster. So I honestly don't know that I'm going to trust that this is going to work really well on my lawn. I've had no success with various attempts at different ingredients, so I don't know that it would really be good for a lawn that you water very frequently. However, the area that I'm particularly interested in this is where cats use this here as a litter box for me, and I believe I can deter them by using this. So that's what I'm doing, shaking along here wherever I find that the cats are using the litter box. So there you have it. It's going to be a deterrent, not a complete prevention tool, so don't expect it to be perfect. I think you'll have more success in areas that aren't necessarily a lawn that are going to get constantly watered and washed away, but hopefully it'll be a better job for things like litter box areas where cats can use and other animals that might try to come by your trash cans or something like that. But just don't expect an old dog that has lost some of its sense of smell or taste and may not actually care about this. You'll read different reviews. Some people say the cats walk right over the area. Well, you know, maybe out of the different choices that they have, it was the most desirable of the choices that they had to walk through. Hopefully they won't stay to do their business once they get there. And remember, it's not a fence, but they might walk through and go, sniff around and go, this isn't as nice, I'm not going to do my business there. If you're doing it on top of an area that already has a lot of places where animals have done their business, you know, animals had marked their ground, it may take a little while for them to get used to going somewhere else, break their habit, like having been marked off by other animals might actually overpower this. So there's different considerations, and maybe it'll take some time to become really effective if you can keep the animals off.